There is no contradiction. The government is very clear that we are not ready to fight and we are for peace, for the continuation of the ceasefire. This does not mean that if you decide to fight me, then I fold my hands and say, no, I don't want to fight you because we are in ceasefire. No, I must defend myself. This is the right given. And as such, what is happening now is not a contradiction, as stated, but it is a reality on the ground. If the other party doesn't want to cease fire and wants to continue attacking me, like what happened in Nasser, from Upper Nile up to Malakal, who is that person, who is that body who has been attacking all these institutions? What happened in Fanjak? What happened in Fiji? These are people attacking. This is the White Army, the so-called White Army, which to me is not a White Army, but it is IO, attacking positions of the government, and as such, the government must defend itself. And in the course of defense, for those who are not military-minded, a defense includes attack. Because if you want to defend yourself, you must preempt that person whom you suspect to, or whom you know to be doing something, planning something against you. You don't need to wait until he attacks you when you are already known his intentions. So there is no contradiction. We are acting in self-defense, and we are for peace and harmony. We are for reconciliation, and we are for peace. So this ceasefire, we are already on record that we are for ceasefire. And if the opposition, if the IO doesn't want peace ceasefire, then we'll not definitely wait and say, well, we are on ceasefire now, we will not respond or we will not defend ourselves. This is what is happening all over. Because in the course of doing whatever you are doing in the military, you must collect information. Because your actions are dependent on the information that you collect. According to our sources, these people are planning very ambitious attacks, ambitious plans to attack all over South Sudan, and this is why they are being preempted. That is one. Number two, the displacement people are talking about, this displacement of communities or people. Earlier, people have been saying, well, why are you bombarding the communities, the civilians? By the way, a civilian who is living in a military area is no longer a civilian. He is a legitimate target. As long as you are there with enemies, staying with them in the same area, you are a legitimate target. So whoever is living with those civilians, with those military people, if anything happens, the bullet will not differentiate between the civilian and the soldier. So this is why they are all the time advised to keep away from these hostile elements so that they are not affected. So we are not killing anybody, we have not killed anybody, we have not harmed anybody. But anybody found in that area, in that hostile area, is deemed to be a hostile element. This is the language of the army. So the ceasefire is there. But it is being violated by them. And if they violate it, then definitely we will not say, yeah, we are in ceasefire, so we will not defend ourselves. We are all the time in defense. That is on the investigation for the brother who asked about investigation. It has started a long time ago. I don't know how did you miss it. But the investigation started a long time ago and it is ongoing. And we cannot talk about the investigation because this will prejudice the course of investigation. So there is no more. It is enough that you know that there is investigation going on, full stop. no more talk about the investigation. You will not get any further information from there. For the hostile communities, these communities, they are not all hostile as such. Because even within the hostile communities, there are few who are reasonable and understanding. But they are the minority. This does not mean that we have denied them, because in every community there are hostile majority, and if the majority are hostile, then they are deemed to be all hostile. Even though within these communities there are few who are understanding and reasonable and not hostile. These communities, of course, once those who agitate them, once we address the issue of those who agitate them, then we will talk to them. And they will understand. Once we isolate them from these groups that are all the time agitating them, then definitely they will come to understanding, and they are communities, and as such we cannot punish communities, but to educate them, tell them the truth so that they understand. For phase 2, yes, there will be phase 2. Phase 1 has already gone. But this time, we want to expedite phase 2 by reviewing the agreement so that we reduce these stages whereby you start from the assembly area, you go to the cantonment, and from cantonment you are screened, and then you go to the training center. Kalam de Kulu, we want to make a shortcut. And we had ever been standing against these arrangements. But of course, because the agreement was partly imposed on us, these are some of the provisions that we were against by then. And this is why it became difficult for us to implement them. So what we will do, this time we will expedite the process, and we may decide to do without one of the phases. That is the cantonment phase will no longer be there, but from the assembly directly to the training center. And people, I remember in Anyanya 1, all the forces of Anyanya 1 were integrated within 3 months. They were all organized and integrated within 3 months, after which they were taken for training. Why should we avoid that system? And it would have been the best, and there would have been, at present we would have had no 9 chiefs of general, commanders-in-chief, and 9 chiefs of general staff. All these would have not been there. But it is the agreement which brought all this to us. So we are trying to address that situation so that we avoid any further. As for the vacancies, those who vacated, the vacancies vacated belong to IO. And it is the interim body or the transitional body of the IO that will write to His Excellency the President that these people have already gone. We are requesting your offices, your good offices, to relieve them and appoint A, B, C, D in their places. It's not our work, it is not the work of, but we will request them to consider that, because we cannot continue with these vacancies vacated. So it is the committee, the IO committee, that will be writing to the President for the relief of those who have already defected or under arrest or on hiding. These are the people who will be relieved so that the others are appointed in their places. What impact does the arrest of Riek Machar have on the peace process? Riek Machar is the chairman of an organization called the SPLM-AIO. He is not the SPLM-AIO, but he is the chairman of that organization. And the fact that he's the chair of the organization doesn't mean that in his absence, the movement has collapsed or the institution has collapsed. The institution continues, and as such, his arrest or being outside the administration of the IO doesn't mean that the SPLM-AIO has gone. The SPLM-AIO, as you might have heard, and you will get it when you are given copies, the SPLM-AIO is now divided into 4 factions. 3 factions. One faction is the faction in conflict with the law. It is under arrest. The other faction is the faction that decided to defect out of fear. And this is another defection. The other faction is the faction that is on hiding here inside South Sudan. That is number 3. The 4th is this faction which is now in the government. This faction now in the government is saying we are continuing with the implementation of the agreement. They are not saying we are not implementing, but they are saying we want to make sure that the implementation of the agreement continues. And they are in the government. So, what is Riek Machar is a leader, yes, we recognize him, but the fact that he is in conflict with the law is a different thing, and the fact that he is Riek Machar as a person is different from the SPLM-AIO as an institution. So his arrest, his being under house arrest and undergoing investigation at present does not affect the implementation of the agreement in any way. So the agreement will continue to be implemented, and what you have in mind is that this will definitely Riek Machar as the leading, one of the most important signatories to the agreement, then the agreement must collapse. The agreement will not collapse. It will continue, and we will continue to implement the agreement, and this is why we are talking of elections in 2026. That is one. As for his position, of course, will be vacated when necessity requires. As soon as the investigation continues, if the investigation committee finds that there is a prima facie case against Riek Machar, then they will recommend his being prosecuted before the court. Once he is recommended, proved to be in conflict with the law, and they recommend his trial, then he cannot be tried with his position as the first vice president. He will have to be relieved from his position so that he faces the law. Who will do that? It is the investigation committee. The investigation committee will investigate into the case, and once the investigation is completed and they have found that there is sufficient evidence to warrant his trial, then definitely they will write to His Excellency the President to request him to relieve the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, from his position as the first Vice President of the Republic so that he goes to the court. This is the situation. So he will not just be, because even in the investigation, if the investigation finds that there is no case against him, they will quash the case and discharge him. If they find that there is no case against Riek Machar, the investigation committee has the competence to discharge him. So this is the situation. He will not be taken to the court by Gumaj Bito. Lazim Gumaj de Galawel, Ubada Gemshi Muatin. That is the situation. And this is the time when his position will be vacated. And if that position is vacated, then the SPLM-AIO interim administration will now recommend. The president will now call the interim administration of the IO and ask them to make a recommendation to fill this vacancy. And it is they who will make the necessary recommendation to the president. That is the situation. The name of the commander is Garwich.
Maybe something, I don't know.
The name of the commander is Garwich. He's coming from Sudan and he's moving that way. And if you need no more of the names of the commanders, you can furnish you with them if you need them. But there are so many commanders these days. What is special about the current situation, and why not dialogue? We are not against dialogue. This should be number one. It should be understood that we are not against dialogue. And all that as PLMAIO under the command of Machar had been doing all this time, we had been dialoguing with them all these years. Despite all the atrocities that they have been committing all these years, we had been dialoguing, but this dialogue has made them to misunderstand us. Because every time they kill people, we dialogue, and then we come and agree again, ignoring the lives which are lost. This time, we have decided the other way around. We have decided not to dialogue because dialogue proved to be insufficient. So we have decided to consult the law. We have decided to try law, because they say if education cannot help, try ignorance. Is it? Okay, we will try. If dialogue cannot help, we will try the law. This is why we are subjecting these people to the law. Because we have dialogue for long, and dialogue did not had not been fruitful. And if it had not been fruitful, then why should we continue with it? We are trying law this time, and then we will see how far will it succeed. So that is why we are applying the law. In the course of application of the law, those who are in conflict with the law will address their conflict with the law in the courts. But those who are not in conflict with the law will continue to dialogue with us. So we are not rejecting the dialogue. Those who are in conflict with the law, those who are under arrest will continue under investigation and whatever. And those who are not in conflict with the law will continue to dialogue with them. Because necessity requires us to dialogue. So we'll continue to dialogue with them. We'll continue to dialogue with the new administration. So we have not stopped dialogue. We have never rejected it, and we will not stop it. Because our major problem now is not the whole-out groups who are over there in the Tumaini and so forth. Our problem is now with those who are whole-out groups within. So we must first address the issue of this inner whole-out group before we go and look for our brothers and sisters who are outside there. So we are not neglecting the whole-out groups, but let us first address this, so that when we move together, we'll go and look for our brothers and sisters who are abroad, who are outside. But we cannot leave from here without us first coming together and uniting our ranks, so that we go and address those issues over there. So we are as of now, we will first address the issues before us now, after which we will be going for our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora, or those who are, whom we call the whole-out groups. But we must address these inner whole-out groups first. What we are saying is that we are not adjourning again. And this is why we are saying we must make sure that we must all come together as parties signatories to the agreement. And we continue with the implementation so that we don't adjourn again, so that we go for elections in 2026. In December 2026, we shall be going for elections if we continue well. And we are confident that despite all these obstructions, we'll move well. All these obstructions are simply because those groups, the SPLM-IO, have conducted their own studies and they have found that they are losing elections. And if they are losing elections, then why go for elections? So in order not to go for elections, you must all the time continue to obstruct so that we continue to negotiate and extend. And in so doing, we will continue to extend indefinitely. This time we are saying no more extension. Despite the obstructions being and the hurdles being laid, nevertheless, we will go for elections. With or without the Constitution, with or without anything, all that we need is to reorganize the chapter 2 and make sure that chapter 2 is done. The army is united. There is one unified army under one commander-in-chief. That is all. Elections will be run. Thank you.